2, 1.
Good morning. The meeting is now called to order. I am Melanie Williams, and I'm the chair of the HART Finance and Audit Committee. Welcome to the April 19th, 2021 Finance and Audit Committee meeting. This meeting format is hybrid, and we do have a quorum physically present at the HART Administrative Office, 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are participating via communication media technology. Please look at your screens on your devices, and an image of the flag is displayed. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Jackson, will you please do the roll call?
Yes, good morning. Director Kemp? Director Knight?
Present.
Director Overman?
Present here.
Director Schisler?
Here.
Chair Williams?
Here.
And then Commissioner Kemp, or Director Kemp? You do have a physical quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to draw everyone's attention to page 4 of the packet to review the rules for meeting participation. And on page 5 of the Finance and Audit rules and responsibilities are provided for your information. The first item on our agenda today is the second item on our agenda today is approval of minutes.
Move to approve all outstanding minutes from January 25th, February 15th, and March 1st. Second.
Thank you. Councilman Schussler first, and second by Director Knight. Ms. Jackson?
Director Knight?
Yeah.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Chair Williams?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment at this time?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to our committee action items. The following presentation is in support of committee action items A through C, Flamingo Fairs contracts. Ms. Linda Crescentini, Interim Chief Financial Officer, you are recognized.
Thank you, Director Williams, members of the committee. The next three items we're going to talk about are contracts relating to the support of the Flamingo Fair project. So before we get started, though, I'd like to give a little bit of history and a little bit of background. So HART took the lead in a regional development of seamless travel between our sister partners, which is Pasco, Hernando, Pinellas, and Sarasota. So because we have new members, I just thought it would be good to do a quick review. Why did the region come together in order to support this project? So with that said, one of the key components was a breakdown of barriers, the ease of using transit from the unbanked riders all the way through our choice riders. So with that said, let's look at some benefits of the program that were considered back then and some newer benefits that were just considered. For the underbanked, the part of the Flamingo program will institute fare capping. This will allow that a customer will not have to ever spend more than $4 a day or $65 a month. A lot of folks can't possibly afford the $65 a month, so this allows them to pay as they go. The frustration of paying with cash, you always have to have exact change. With COVID, some of the new benefits are contactless payment and much faster boarding time. Also, allowing the customers to manage their own account, whether it's a personal account or an institutional account. Right now, our manager of retail sales is working with some of our institutional partners. They're working with the VA hospital, they're working with juvenile justice, they're working with the universities to be able to transition those folks to the electronic fare payment system and allow them to solidify the management of their own customers using the system. It's also, we have balance protection, and we're working on field integration testing for our retail network. Right now, we have 25 smaller retail mom and pop stores, I guess is the simplest way to say it, that are working with us. PSTA concurrently with us is developing this retail network. So eventually we'll have over 500 stores that have worked out agreements with Ready Credit to allow folks easy accessibility along our routes. They'll be able to go into a 7-Eleven or a Publix. They'll be able to replenish their cash on their card. They'll be able to purchase new cards, and it will help break down some of those barriers to having cash on the vehicles. So with that said, that transition is underway. We'll have 100 retail networks set up across, right now it's going to be PSTA, HART, and Hernando, but eventually we'll be over 500. So a little bit of history behind the program itself. HART, I'm sorry, Danielle, next slide, please. Let's go back for 1 second. So with that said, what's up and operational? So like we had mentioned, the cards, the extended use cards, the web portals, the mobile application, the IVR system are all up and functional with the base functionality. It's been up and operational behind the scenes for over a year now, and we're working more towards the enhancements of the program, and I'll get into that in a little more detail later. So next slide, please. The history of the Flamingo program. So the HART board approved the Flamingo program for $12,088,783 back on February 1st of 2016. To date, we've spent $8,921,877. When the program was initially conceived, each of our supporting team members, our regional partners, all went through an MOU process, a memorandum of understanding. They all came before the HART board. They all went before their own boards as to the roles and responsibilities clearly identified in those agreements as how we are going to proceed forward over the next couple of years. One of those items in there was that the regional group had decided some people were taking different responsibilities. HART had committed at that time, and it's in the agreements, that we would be responsible for the first year of operation of the system across the region. During that first year, the regional working group will analyze the ridership data and determine equitable cost sharing for year 2 and going forward into the future. So with that said, I want to be transparent as to how the funding of the 8.9 was spent to date. Next slide, please. So the majority of the funding that has been spent to date came from federal, state, PSTA, and TBARTA funding. Of the $8.9 million that HART received as far as contributions to the program, only $164,531 to date came out of HART ad valorem. The remaining $8.7 million was a combination of federal, state, PSTA, and TBARTA funding. So that's why we're here for the next steps. The next steps is that first year of operation and warranty. So next slide, please. The three requested committee action items before you is the base init contract for the current design is a time extension, and I'll explain why in a little bit. That's not for the base system. That's for enhancements that were identified during this process. The next one is for the new operations, support, warranty, and maintenance contract. That request will be for time and funding. And then the third is for Clever Consulting. They kind of mirror the support to the first program. So again, I'm not requesting any additional funding, but I am requesting time to mirror the first program. So with that, next slide, please. If we can get into some of the details. So in an existing contract, which the request is for a time extension, this is basically for the final items that are left for the enhancement. All the key customer-facing functionalities are available to the public. The HART's customers have been using this for a while behind the scenes. However, due to the complexity of a large-scale project, many of the opportunities during system development have been discovered during the project life cycle, and we need to extend time to complete the install of these changes. And one specifically would be open payment. Open payment is the ability to use MasterCard, Visa, Apple Pay, Google Pay, and it's for ease of boarding. We'll always have our base customers, but this allows, say, a tourist or one of our visitors come to town, and they don't necessarily have an account, create an account, but they're used to other agencies where they can tap their Apple Watch or they can tap MasterCard or Visa, not worrying on bringing exact change onto the vehicle. So with that said, that is one of the main reasons for the time extension. Just to say one more time, all the base functionality is up and operational. These are for some of the enhancements. Just to give you an idea on the ridership numbers, without any major public outreach or marketing campaign, our ridership numbers continue to be strong. During the second quarter, so January, February, March, the use increased to 34,000 successful taps and scans. That's a 68% increase compared to quarter one of 20,000. The use of the mobile app was 2 times more in the second quarter than it was in the first. So people are finding us even though we haven't really reached out for full exposure as to the benefits of this system. So with that said, the next logical step is to move into the operation and warranty. And that's the biggest request before you today. This is a 1-year base. It follows through on HART's commitment to honor the first year of operation and maintenance. It's the second committee action item. And this is the post-implementation contract to provide the operation support, warranty, maintenance services as necessary. So with this one, we just need to spend a little bit more time. I want to be fully transparent on the funding. The way we have secured funding in the past, the majority of the funding in the first program, like I mentioned, was state, federal, T-BARDA, and a little bit of HART ad valorem. HART as ad valorem does not cross fiscal years. So we are fully funded from June 1st through September 30th, which aligns with our fiscal year. We have $452,817 to support. As part of the new budgeting, operating budgeting, the request for the additional $918,000 will be on that request and continue operation from October through June. So with that said, like I had mentioned, the last committee action item is for Clever. They are program management services, and they basically support us in all the technical evaluation of the program. They have really been a great partner in this. They help us with the integration testing. They help us with guidance. So this is not adding any more funding to their existing contract. It's just allowing us to mirror the other contract for the implementation of the open payment. So, I'm sorry, Daniel. Next slide, please. So with that said, marketing is ready. Our partners are ready to roll this out. Marketing has done a phenomenal job of different venues, flags, part of our bus shelter program. And I think that launch will be shortly. Next slide, please. So with that, a summary of the 3 action items before you. 4A is to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to execute a modification to the existing contract for Init to extend the contract period of performance for 1 year. It is to complete the implementation of the new enhancements for the Flamingo Fair project. 4B is to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to award a sole source contract to Init to provide system operation support, warranty, and maintenance for the Flamingo Fair program for a 1-year base, not to exceed amount of $1,371,155. And then the last action item, 4C, is to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to execute a modification to the existing contract for program management services with Clever Consulting in support of the Flamingo Fairs program, and to extend the contract for a period of 1 year. Questions?
Thank you, Ms. Constantini.
Sure.
Councilman Schertzler, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very good presentation. Thank you. I've been looking
Thank you.
forward to a history lesson on what happened way back when. I do have just a couple real quick questions.
Absolutely.
Number one, with respect to the first issue, which one is it? The 4B, no, I'm sorry, 4A.
Yes.
Who is managing scope creep for this project? Or do we get to do it? Are they doing it? How's this being managed? Because a project this huge just gets huger. on its own.
Correct. And that is from the PMO office here.
Okay.
I'm temporarily running couple duties, so I do have the responsibility of that.
Okay.
And we meet several times weekly. When we come back and present this to you, this is after negotiations. We have looked at different aspects, but it's not being driven that way. What has happened in some of the contract mods that have been going through are basically for enhancements. It's what the team didn't know when we first got into this project. So it's for efficiencies. Some might have to do with reporting structure, reconciliation reports, things until we had hands-on, but it's not, there isn't scope creep with the base contract going forward.
Okay, and my second question is on B, what went down? You'd never see something go down. Why did the dollar value go down?
Okay, I was asked to look at that. I did have a little bit of contingency in there that I took out to make sure that we do not have any, get it to bare bones cost as far as what we need. Managed services for open payment, which is the MasterCard Visa card, is still under development, so some of those services, we won't need that full amount for the year. So this is a not to exceed amount.
Good. Those are my questions. Thank
Okay,
you. I'll stop.
thank you.
Thank you. Director Knight, recognized.
Great presentation. I'm just, in favor of moving for the extension.
Thank you.
For the extension.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I have a lot of questions. I'm sorry, and also I'm present. Sorry, I had to come in a few minutes late. But I saw, I think, most of the presentation. And I have a lot of concerns. One is, I've never had, thank you for finally, again, 4.5 years. This is the first time I feel like I've had a more thorough presentation of what Flamingo is and what it's doing and what the issues are. I I don't know if I remembered this, but this was started before I ever became a board member 4.5 years ago. It's had a bunch of false starts, and then bringing in another group to consult. I guess that was Clever Consulting before, and then I was always told that FDOT was footing the whole bill. Can we go back to that pie that you have with regards to the footing of this bill for
Absolutely.
this service, which again began at the beginning of 2016? So in there, you have HART cash, which I guess is what you said, like 164,000?
That's correct, $164,531 that HART has paid out of ad valorem to date. The remaining were from grants for state, federal, PSTA, and TBARTA.
Right, and so, but PSTA paid 41% in cash for this?
Well, PSTA, that was their contribution. We have a billing cycle, we send it to PSTA, and they reimburse us. I would have to get with PSTA and ask them if that was strictly from their ad valorem, or if that was some type of other federal state funding that they had. They never really, I don't have that information with me today.
Yeah,
but
it makes it look like they did like 4 million, and we did 164, which I can't, 1,000, which I find, it doesn't make any sense to me, and I can't imagine that that's true. So here's my other concerns. One is so you said PSTA and HART, but I guess Pasco is not part of this, but then Hernando, which I don't even know what kind of bus service or whatever Hernando has. So Pasco isn't part of this, and was it originally contemplated as part of this? It never was?
Oh, no, Pasco is a partner. Pasco is absolutely a
Oh, I
partner.
thought you said, I didn't hear
I'm
it when
sorry.
you said that. I thought that, then I heard, so it's Pasco, Pinellas, HART, and Hernando.
And Sarasota. Sarasota is revisiting their structure, so they are still a partner with us. They just have asked for time to reevaluate what their service model looks like, so they asked not to be part of the marketing campaign. But they are still a partner on the books, and they still do attend our coordination meeting and our information sharing meetings.
Okay, and the ask now, in terms of if we did not move forward, what wouldn't we have?
So right now, it's your 24-hour support. It's your software licensing, your hardware. It is your, hold on, let me just. It is the hosting services. So we have a back office, and the back office is where all the reconciliation happens, all the taps go in, and it's the data collection, system data storage. It's the web portal hosting, so we do have our websites up and operational, and it's the hosting of those services. It's the operation costs for the mobile ticketing. They're supporting the mobile app, is support for the IVR system, and it's also support for managed services. And the managed services are more like tariff changes. If there's changes in our fare structure, if there's changes in any of our regional partners' fare structure, they go through the implementation and the testing, making sure that all the business rules are correct, and that support is for all the technical support in the background of 24/7 support. It's also to look at anomalies. It's to look at any fraud. They have folks that review the system. One is nightly, other two are twice a day, to make sure that our system is operating correctly, that there's no fatal flaws, or that there's no potential flaws or anomalies. So it's everything in support of the ongoing operation for the first year.
So it seems like we, if we didn't continue this project, or if we didn't continue this, we would no longer have Flamingo, basically.
That's probably a fair statement. And don't forget, we're looking at it for the region. It's a regional partnership.
I understand. So what, in terms of our customers, what percentage of our customers will ever use this?
Well, like I mentioned,
Do we have that?
we haven't really started the marketing effort yet, but I did mention just the ridership for this quarter, with no
Yes.
advertisement. The adoption rate is pretty strong.
And say that again, what it is?
So the Flamingo ridership, just for quarter two, which is January, February, and March, was 34,033 successful taps or scans. It's a 68% increase compared to quarter one, where we had 20,000 successful taps and scans. So until we can establish a baseline as to what our ridership is, and I know COVID is, probably a factor into that, we report on our success measures as to the adoption rate as we move forward. So I will always report our ridership and the increases in taps and scans.
Okay, so let me ask this then. So part of this is us, HART, paying $1,371,155, which is about, last I checked, I think we were up to about 44 million in collection in our ad valorem. So that is a huge sum out of our ad valorem. Why is it only us paying for the operations of this? Why is it only us paying this first year of operations? I'm not sure I understand, instead of it being split on a prorated basis.
And that's an excellent question. I'm carrying out the agreements that were brought before previous administration boards. That's in all the memorandums of understanding with PSTA. Those are the requirements in each one. It's committed that HART will pay for that first year. And, I don't want to guess as to why they chose to do that. Maybe it was to bring the region together, but that is the commitment in all of our agreements.
So I think what we should do is try to ask our CEO to go back and see if we can get a pro rata share agreement moving forward. I just don't see any reason why our taxpayers are here in Hillsborough County should be uniquely hit with this bill. And no one else that's using the system is paying that. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
And years two and forward, it is, all the agreements are set up that way for cost sharing that will be evaluated quarterly. But it's clear in all the agreements that the first year of the back office and support of the operations would be HART's responsibility.
Right. I understand that we at one time did that, but I would ask that we, at this time, not move forward with this myself. I would be against this until we approach the other agencies and look for a pro rata share of this. I just think I'm not sure who thought this was a good idea back in beginning of 2016. We actually are in a very precarious situation relative to, actually even PSTA and Pinellas have far more resources than us. And so why we should just handle, again, maybe HART, maybe FDOT, this would be something for them to do at this time. Because this just doesn't really make any sense to me that we're paying for the entire region when really our prorated share might be like, half that.
Right, and we do want to have those conversations. T-BARTA has been partner with us, and T-BARTA does speak for the region. We have had those conversations with TBARTA to look at, funding for the region, hoping that they could help out. But we can certainly go back to DOT and see if there's any type of special funding that we can request.
I would say that we should definitely do that we should not put this burden on us at this time. And I would urge that I want to approve it for the future, but only for our pro rata share that's reasonable, or go to FDOT at this time and ask them to do funding of this. We're not looking to them for any support for any routes at this time under, which we had under those others. So other grants that we have not activated. And to me, this would be something that most definitely FDOT should pick up the bill for.
We can certainly reach out to them.
So I would just make a motion at this time that we not approve this going forward, that we look and try to see if we can get other resources to pay for this or renegotiate this plan at this time.
There's a time constraint associated with that because the contract will expire. So is this...
I understand, but we still have more time right now. We certainly have 30 days.
Okay.
So I'm making that motion. If there's a second. Oh, do we have a quorum in here?
We do have a physical quorum at this time, Commissioner Kemp. I do have others that are on the list to ask questions as well, and have hands raised in the room. So you're...
I'll second it for discussion purposes. I'll second it for discussion purposes.
So we have a motion, and Director Knight, we have a motion on the floor, excuse me, let me finish the statement, and second by Commissioner Overman, and Director Knight has raised his hand for acknowledgement. You're recognized.
Yes, thank you. My understanding is, that it expire in May. No more funding or anything, but it's an ongoing, that it need more time. And that's what I was saying. I was in support of extending the time to work out detail without adding any more funding to it, but it's a process ongoing. So that's why I want to make sure with Director Kemp that, we're all on the same page on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized, please.
Great, thank you very much. But it's through the discussion, I would like to note that the graph that splits out the contributions from various different parties was not part of our original joint board package, and I would love to get a copy of that. But to Commissioner Kemp's questions specifically about contributions to the effort, it may need, I would like to request, if possible, a breakdown of those that have invested in the actual program, and as Commissioner Kemp has brought up, those that are contributing to the ongoing maintenance of the system, because it isn't, from what I understood, the operating costs that are defined in the contract with Init, as well as the relationship with Clever, is to ensure that the system operates effectively, efficiently, and with little or no fraud or other problems that are oftentimes critical to having the program work in the first place. But without seeing the first graph, which is not in our backup, to see how it was broken down among the parties, which is great. It was a great illustration. It shows HART and the state, and it shows PSTA and HART TBARTA, but it doesn't show whether or not, for example, Hernando or Pasco were involved. If they were on the design and implementation, that's great, but then the next step is, operating the system with our partners and outlining how that expense is allocated across our partners. That being said, I've always been a fan of Flamingo because of its ease of use, and basically it allows anyone coming from anywhere to be able to use HART's system and pay for it. Because the barriers to entry on our transit system frequently are the things that were discussed earlier, not having the right change, not knowing how to pay for fare, all those kinds of things. And Flamingo has been our solution for creating an opportunity to remove that barrier. So it is very important. But given that it is very important, the last thing I want to do is invest in something with a $12 million price tag only to have it go away because we don't have the proper mechanisms in place to allow it to continue operation. So while I agree that we do need to address these contracts, given the timeline, and we'll need board approval for them to be continued, I too am frustrated that we don't have what Commissioner Kemp just asked for, is an ongoing plan for allowing the program to continue, knowing where we're going with this, with our partners, for the ongoing operations costs. If that is in this document, I'm missing it, and I apologize. But I think it's critically important that we have those agreements ferreted out, so that it's very clear if that graph is not, if the graph illustrates ongoing participation, that's one thing. But if it doesn't, then we need both the capital investment implementation as well as ongoing operations in order to decide how to move forward on these two items. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Commissioner Oberman. Councilman Schisler, you're recognized.
Thank you,
The
Madam
last hand, please.
Chair. Clarify for me, if you would, the original contract stated that we'd share in the development, and then HART would pay for the first year of actual operation, and then every year after that, it would be some type of a pro rata allocation of expenses, correct?
Correct.
Now, when is that first year supposed to kick in?
So that would kick in for June 1st.
June 1st?
Yes.
Okay. I'm afraid we're a little late to try and pull the plug on that for this item. I don't want to pay any more money than we absolutely have to, but unfortunately, boards make decisions that other boards are encumbered by, and we have a contractual obligation to at least move forward with this. Now, quite possibly, we could ask the CEO to go back to our other partners and see if there's any room for modification with the contract. But I don't know how we, legally, can pull the plug on the funding aspect of it, considering we have, about 5.5 weeks until the funding is supposed to kick in. So I think we put ourselves in previous board put us in this position, right, wrong, or indifferent. At that point, it seemed like a good idea, but at this point, I think we're kind of late to jump ship on the whole project without creating all kinds of administrative and legal issues for the board and the organization. So at this, I won't support that motion to not fund the first year. I don't want to do it. But I think we're stuck. I think we have to do that. We have an obligation to take care of that. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Councilman Schisler. It looks like we're going second round again for our questions, and I just want to weigh in that I too had a number of questions and interaction. I think we got to a level of understanding of what we have today or what is here to bring before the committee in order to have more intelligent conversation on what was committed to previously, and then what you're faced with today, and then how we proceed forward. So to note, just wanted to make that a part of the records, and I will move to Mrs. LeGrand. Your hand has been raised, and you are recognized at this time.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just wanted to provide some updates. So I did communicate with Brad Miller, the CEO of PSTA, late last week, he and I are scheduled to talk this week to find out what we can do related to Flamingo. So that's something that's already moving forward. As I was taking notes, my thought, and I need Ms. Crescentini to let me know if this is possible. I know in her presentation she mentioned we have approximately $500,000 in this current budget. If possible, we can use that money to continue moving forward and then revisit this conversation, still keeping our obligation to our payment with the money that we currently have that's budgeted and not requesting any additional funding at this time, and then allow us to come back next month with an update from the conversation with PSTA and see if there's something we can look at in our agreement moving forward. So I wanted to first check with Ms. Crescentini to see if this approach is feasible, and if so, then ask for the opportunity to revisit this next month.
Absolutely. So currently, we're funded in fiscal year '21, which takes us from June 1st through September 30th. That's $452,817. So we will be fully funded in the authorization that we have up to September 30th, the new start of the fiscal year, at which time we could absolutely reach back out to our partners and see what possibilities there are.
Thank you, Ms. Crescentini. So with that confirmation, what I'd like to propose is that we spend the next month to have conversations with our partners to really, one, understand if the technology that we're looking at now is still feasible. You know, I didn't mention this, but this started in 2016, and we're all aware that technology, especially apps and those types of technologies, change so rapidly. So one, I would have a conversation to see if what we're getting now is indeed what the market is offering and if it is the state of the art. And then two, also understanding, you know, if there are opportunities for us to revisit the partnering. So, and then I can come back next month with an update from those conversations.
So, Ms. Mandel, we have a motion on the floor at this time, and we have a second, and just from protocol standpoint, we do have a new motion.
If we're going to take up the suggestion by Ms. LeGrand, then we would need a substitute motion to the motion that's on the floor.
Okay.
I would like to just make that, I'll just alter my motion to include that, because that is exactly perfect at this time. And I did hear Ms. Crescentini talk about the payment that we already had on hand from the beginning of June through September. So that sounds like, thank you, Ms. LeGrand, for how we move forward on this. This is more or less what I wanted to do. Continue talking, continue with the system, but I mean, I think this was, an unfair burden put on this agency, and that we really need to renegotiate that or consider what we do with that moving forward. And also, thank you, Ms. LeGrand, for coming back, evaluating, seeing where we are with this, because I think that's really important as we move forward. And yes, it's wonderful to have a system like this available, but I think we have to look at what our options are moving forward and how we best move forward with this and not take an undue burden on this agency that it wouldn't be fiscally wise in my mind. So with that, I'll just incorporate the parts that Ms. LeGrand stated as part of that motion.
Thank you.
Can you mind if I clarify that motion just to make sure for the record it's clear? So the intent is to table this item until such time that Ms. LeGrand can come back with a report on any further discussions or negotiations?
That was not, is that what you intended? I thought I heard something different. Or Commissioner Kipp, are you altering the motion? Do you want to restate that again, please?
Okay. Ms. LeGrand, you're there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so would you say that the best way for you to be able to move forward with this, because I did hear that there was already money available June through September that's in that budget, which probably would equal what we would pay anyway if there was a pro rata share. I'm just kind of guessing here. But at any rate, you would suggest that we move forward, table this for now, or just to be specific, I know that you're talking with Mr. Miller. I know that we have this funded. So when would you think that to move forward with, funding as the 542,000, or how would you suggest that we specifically state that?
So I would suggest that we gain approval to continue using the budgeted funds towards the operation of the Flamingo. And I will come back to the board, we will come back to the board next month with an update from our conversations. And as I was thinking here, if we look at the timing of when our dollars, the timing of the duration of dollars that we have, which is until the end of our fiscal year, which is September of 2021, but also during that period of time, we will be coming to the board for approval for the next budget cycle. And, it would be our intention, if we wanted to move forward with Flamingo, that in our budget ask, we would have dollars in there for the board to approve for Flamingo moving forward. So I think the timing really should work out. We don't want to wait till the last minute, but what we want to do is, again, gain approval to continue using the budgeted funds that we currently have to get us to the end of this fiscal year, and then we will come back with a presentation next month providing feedback from our conversations with the partners to find another mechanism to better distribute the cost of the operations of Flamingo, as well as having a conversation if this is the best technology for moving forward.
Okay, I think all three of those aspects are perfect. So we have that motion on those three items at this time. So that would be my.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp. Ms. LeGrand, is there a second?
So are we moving forward with these three contracts? Did you change your motion, Commissioner Kemp?
Yes, well, I changed it to reflect in terms of Flamingo, what Ms. LeGrand just stated, which is that we move forward with what we have through this budget year, the 542 or whatever it is through September that we have already budgeted, 1. 2, that she is going to look at and speak with the equity in this contract and where we move forward to the new budget year. So it's going to have to come back to us for approval for the other portion at any rate, and she's going to report back to us next month, both on the budget and what she's talking about, as well as a review of the system and how much it makes, some advice or some review of going forward. So I think that those three aspects, so that would be my motion to which she had stated.
Is there a second?
Point of order, I don't know if that's
Thank you.
appropriate, but we're just trying to move this forward to the whole board for discussion. We're not trying to renegotiate anything at this point, if I understand. So I think that the motion, with all due respect, Commissioner Kemp, I'm not trying to reword your motion, but shouldn't we just say that we have reservations with this issue? We need to address it to the full board, giving Ms. LeGrand enough time, hopefully, maybe for 2 weeks to at least come back to the board with a workable plan for mitigating the impact past June 30, past September 30th. It'll give her a couple of weeks. I don't want to pass motion, I don't think the motion should be on the validity of the issue. It should be, we just move it forward to the board, giving her enough time to do what she needs to do. I'll stop.
I think we could have that specificity as we move forward, and then, we can it's just for us. And then we move forward with the board and see what is needed then.
Thank you. So noted. So clarification.
I'll offer the second.
Thank you. Danielle, will you please take a roll call, please, on the order?
Yes,
On the
ma'am.
motion,
Director
excuse
Kemp?
me.
Yes?
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Director Schistler?
Yes.
Chair Williams?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Crescentini. The last action item is to be presented by John Edmondson, Director of Procurement and Contracts, 4D, authorization for Chief Executive Officer to exercise option year one of contract VC 1234500000732 for general counsel services, resulting in an extension of the contract end date of May 30, 2022. Mr. Edmondson, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. From the complex to the simple, the contract that we currently have with Gray Robinson for the provision of general counsel services to the board and to the agency is at the end of its base period of performance. There are 2 option years currently available. The procurement department makes it a routine practice to go before our customer departments when their contracts are set to expire and ask how the vendors are performing and whether or not they would like to move forward with options that are available. So that's why I'm here today, to ask first and foremost the board's pleasure to continue to allow Gray Robinson to provide general counsel services to the board under a 1-year option that's available. And then if that is so the board's pleasure, to ask for authorization to go ahead and exercise that option.
Is there a motion to recommend approval of the committee action?
So moved.
Move approval.
Thank you. Second, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Overman, motion second by Councilman Schussler. Danielle, will you take a vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Chair Williams?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you very
Mr.
much from Gray Robinson. We do appreciate that. That being said, can I seek some additional information about the previous action that was taken? We understood that it related to 4B, but was that motion also intended, and we want to make sure that motion is clarified, if that's not the case, to include A and C, 4A and 4C, to I guess to be tabled, or to be...
Commissioner Kemp,
Able to come back from home.
Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
it was meant to include it all.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure everybody had that clarity.
Thank you. Mr. Edmondson, thank you so much for your presentation and brief comments on the previous action item. And at this point, this concludes the... Yes? This concludes our... Is there a hand raised for Commissioner Overman? Okay, I thought I heard someone interject, so I will move forward with it. This concludes the regular business of today. Is there any old business? Ms. LeGrand, you are recognized.
Sorry.
Yes, so I have one old business update. I know we had the conversation, I would say 2 months ago, about the retroactivity pay associated with the Supreme Court ruling. And I just wanted to provide with another update. When I met with you last, I shared that staff was doing the analysis to determine how much the cost would be to pay the retroactivity pay to the ATU. We are still going through the process. I was unfamiliar with the details associated with calculating those retroactivity payments back to May 1 of 2020. It is a manual process, so staff is actually manually entering data into a spreadsheet from previous time cards, and then also taking into consideration vacations and, just transitioning from one pay grade to the next pay grade, or even from one organization within ATU to another position, so that we can get accurate numbers. To that extent, since it's taken a little longer than I anticipated it would take, and I really didn't know at the time that it was going to be a manual process, we have also started the process of working with the union negotiator who negotiated the last contract. They actually developed a model as a part of their labor negotiations, which allows them to calculate retroactivity, as well as having an understanding as we change pay rates, what it will do for the overall budget. We have engaged with them over the last 2 weeks, and we're going to work with them to utilize their model so that it can help us expedite the process of the retroactivity calculation. So I did want to give an update. I know there were several members of the ATU after our last board meeting brought it to my attention that they were hoping to hear something formally at the board meeting about where we were in the status. I did send them a letter, so they have a written document of what I'm sharing with you today, but I also wanted to provide them with a verbal confirmation of the activities and the steps that we're currently taking. This retroactivity payment is very important to us, very important to me, to ensuring that we get the numbers right. It was also brought to my attention by several in the union that in the past they did receive a retroactivity payment. The payment was incorrect, and then they had to come back and give money back to HART. Those of you who have received money and ever had to go back and give it back after you thought it was all yours, you can imagine the strain associated with that, especially if you have already budgeted to use those dollars. So I definitely don't want us to make that mistake again. I want to ensure that when we calculate the numbers that they are accurate and people get the right amount. And at least for the board's decision, you actually have an accurate number of what we need to move forward. So again, I just wanted to provide you with the update of where we are in the process. And I'm very hopeful that we'll have some conclusions over the next couple of weeks so that I can come back to you with a determination.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LeGrand. We have one hand raised. It's Councilman Schuster.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. LeGrand, at the last board meeting, you had indicated that there was going to be a review being done on your senior staff and the departments and so forth. You didn't, if you did, I didn't miss it. How much is that going to cost?
The total cost of that is $45,000.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions at this time? New business? Oh, excuse me, Director Knight, you're recognized.
I also like to, Ms. LeGrand, thank you for the update pertaining to the union and the status moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. LeGrand, any other comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on from old business to new business, are there any comments or questions at this time? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.